Sam LeCure joining us now here on Off the Bench. Sam, we appreciate your time, and a shout out to that badass cowboy hat. Definitely looking cooler than all of us here today. So, but we
I appreciate it, man.
Where are you heading? Where are you coming back from?
I'm coming back from, I've been in Salt Lake City and Idaho for about a week. Once I got done playing ball, I was living in Denver, and snowboarding became my new hobby. So I spent a lot of time in the mountains. So I'm in Salt Lake City Airport right now, and I'm heading back to Cincinnati.
Well, very cool. We appreciate again you giving us time. Last week they released the broadcast teams, of course, for the Reds. Was there a doubt about you coming back? Was that like was there a little bit of uncertainty? We're beyond happy that you are coming back. By the way, we've been talking about it on the show for a while, but we are glad that you're back. And was there any uncertainty there?
Oh yeah, it was a pretty anxious offseason for me. You know, hearing, just talking to the people and kind of reading the writing on the wall, it was going to be, MLB. It was going to be that model, and in those other models, they have not done pre and post game shows. So I was pretty certain I was out of a job, and I didn't think that was a reflection of me or Giesen's Law or anything like that. I think that was just the nature of the beast financially. So as it turned out, when MLB initially did take over, um, the Reds went to bat for us, and we were going to be the one model that was going to keep home pre and post game shows because of the set down the third base line. That's kind of a feature down there, and I think that they fought for us. They were going to come out of pocket. The Reds were going to come out of pocket to keep that thing going, which I really appreciated. So I was going to work probably about 50 games under that model, and then they, obviously have switched back over to FanDuel, but I didn't really kind of confirm that till within the last week. Um, there's a lot of things up in the air. They're going to move some guys around. I don't know how much I'm supposed to say. I guess I don't really care. Me. But they're going to flip. Like there's going to be some Cowboys going to be in different places. Chris Welsh is going to be in different places. We're going to, maybe broadcast some of the road post game shows from the ballpark. So there's some different things like that. But yeah, there was definitely some anxiety about it, to the point where I was, certainly looking into other opportunities for me. To explore, to spend my time. I was gonna, work with a group, and I still have been working with a group around Cincinnati named the Cincy Flames, kind of going over there and helping them a couple times a week, give a lesson, sparingly, but kind of work with groups of kids, 5, 6, 8 kids, anywhere from maybe 10 to 16, something like that. So but yeah, there was definitely it was pretty unnerving to feel like I didn't know which way the wind was going to blow me this year, but definitely happy to be back.
There's been a lot of talk as spring training kicked off about what the Reds will need from Elly and McLean and Hunter and the rest of the bigger names on the roster. But who's the most underrated player on the Reds roster this season when it comes to the team's success and trying to get us back to the playoffs?
I haven't heard the name. I mean, I again, when I'm off work, I'm off work. as you can tell. So obviously I follow along. I think Tyler Stevenson's huge. I think he's the one who's been here the longest. He's both sides of the ball. I think he really came into his own last year. He's going to work with the pitching staff, and we know how key that's going to be. I love what the pitching staff has an opportunity to be. And I think he just kind of scratched the surface in the second half. I don't necessarily want to say scratch the surface, because he hit 20 home runs, as a catcher who caught a lot of games last year. So that's pretty remarkable for him. You don't see that a ton in the game anymore. A guy catching 110, 120 games, hitting 20 homers. So I think he's the key to a lot of this. The infield, because Tyler's going to be the guy. We know, and Elly's going to play shortstop every day, I hope. But I think Tyler's going to be the guy that's kind of your stalwart. He's going to be behind the plate. He's going to be in the lineup pretty much every day. He's going to be your constant. We talked about a lot of these guys moving around to different positions. But Tyler's not going to, right? I mean, he's going to be your mainstay back there. So I think he's a big key to it.
I asked you last season, how much blame should be placed on David Bell? And I think you and I came to an agreement on that one. How much credit now are we going to give Terry Francona when this Reds team makes the playoffs?
No, we're going to give him plenty of credit, but he doesn't deserve all of it.
I agree.
Okay. So I think, and I'll just get this out of the way. I think as far as free agent signings that Terry Francona is going to be your highest wins above replacement signing in all of baseball, Juan Soto included. I think Terry Francona is a 10-win player, so to speak. So they were destined to get better. They were destined to take a step back last year. I thought you don't improve by 20 games. I mean, that's kind of fluky. You just don't see it a whole lot in baseball. So the fact that they regressed, and that was a lot due to injury, maybe some of it due to David Bell. I don't want to say that, but we're going to give Terry plenty of credit. But this team, I mean, this is kind of like year 3 or 4 of these guys being together, right? I mean, this is the time when it's supposed to happen anyway. I could have managed this freaking team this year, and they would have got better. And I mean, I'm joking, but I mean that they're just bound to get better because they're spending more time in the league. They understand what it's like to be a professional, what it's like, what challenges they're going to face at the big league level. I heard you mention Rhett Lauder a minute ago. He got his feet wet, 6 starts. That's a big deal. That's exactly the number of starts I had my rookie year to kind of prepare me for what was to come. So I think a lot of these guys, there are a couple big question marks. I'd say 2 kind of big question marks for me, and one of them is Christian Encarnacion Strand, who last year was kind of my pick to click. He was the guy that I thought was going to be your 280, 30 homer, 100 RBI guy. It didn't come to fruition. The other one's Noel V. Marte. I think he needs to start the year in the minor leagues without a doubt. Candelario, I think with there's always going to be that settling into a new organization. I think that was part of it. But he needs to be better. He needs to be better. Alexis, there's still question marks on this team. I expect them all to be answered. I think that everybody's going to get better. I think Terry has a different voice, and when you walk into a clubhouse, and David Bell obviously had a really great major league career. He's been in every position that you can be as far as player development goes, but he's not a legend.
Yeah. I wanted
Terry
to ask.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you too, like when you're in spring training, and you were an established guy with the Reds, but when you're working on, especially with a new manager, and you have so many young guys with this team, what is the goal for like a young pitcher compared to an established vet, right? Are you trying to get to know like Terry Francona? Is that the goal? What's the overall goal for a young pitcher in spring training this year?
To be yourself. I think that you want Terry to know exactly who he's dealing with. Consistency is key in this game, across the board, right? I mean, your performance, you want consistency. You want consistency in your attitude and your effort. So if you go there and you're be yourself, and you never have to fake it. I mean, was my thought when I got into the TV job, man. I was like, I'm going to be myself. If they don't like it, then I'll know, because they won't ask me back the next year. But if I can go out there and be myself on a daily basis, there's consistency in that. So you want Terry to know who he's going to deal with every single day. As a human, you don't have to be friends. You'd like to have a great relationship, sure, but you're not going to be friends. But Terry wants to know who he's going to get on a daily basis. So if you're a young pitcher, you go in and show him what you're made of. You let your skills do the talking, right? I mean, you shut your mouth, open your ears and eyes, and shut your mouth, right? And I think that's going to be the big thing. If Terry approaches you, obviously, get to know each other. You want to, because that's a piece of it too. But I think it's really important for those guys to just go out there and be themselves, trust in who they are. That's kind of step one when you're becoming a major leaguer, is really believing in who you are as a person first, but as a player. Like, you have to believe that your shit works at the big league level. The sooner that you come to grips with who you are, the better it's going to be for you.
Let me ask you this. This is my last question for you. Sam Slate, obviously,
come on.
Your premier segment, Sam Slate. I love the caricature. I absolutely love it. Now, let me ask you this, though. This, I guess, is a two-parter. The caricature, will the forehead of your caricature get bigger this year? And my second question would be, similarly to the way Marty shaved his head for a 10-game winning streak a couple years ago, will you shave your mustache if the Reds start 10-0?
Ooh.
First of all, thank God this is video so you can see this. Yes, my hairline's going to get bigger probably. That's why I'm wearing the damn hat. Secondly, if the Reds start 10-0, sure, I'll shave my mustache and I'll shave my head too.
All right,
So, but
Sam,
I don't know how they said you can only have one bald guy on the pre and post game show, and Geese has already got that one.
Sam LeCure hanging out with us here again off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Sam, you heading out to spring training at any point? Is that you coming up? Going to be heading out there soon?
Not that I've heard. Again, like I'm saying, we're still just kind of finalizing a lot of the stuff with the TV deal. I actually technically haven't signed anything. I've had all the conversations. Everything's in order. I'll be back. But usually I think because there's a financial aspect to what FanDuel is doing, obviously that's why this is all happening. I don't think they're just going to be flying me around the country to go out and do, broadcasts. The past couple of years, they've had me broadcast a couple of the, when they've televised the spring training game, they've had me go out there and do that. And I've enjoyed that. Aside from if they asked me to do that, I'd love to. I doubt it. But I may go out there and just play some golf and go see the guys anyway.
All right, last thing on the way out. Again, we appreciate your time. I know you're about to board a flight or whatever, but Hunter Green last year finished his top 10 in the Cy Young, category, of course. But I think we talked on yesterday's show. I said I think for the Reds to really take that next step, they need to have someone else in that rotation, obviously match that type of talent that we've seen from Hunter Green. Who is that guy for you? I said Nick Lodolo. I don't think that's a hot take. Obviously, Brady Singer, a big addition. Nick Martinez, was great last year, and expect a lot of big things from him. Who's that number 2 guy that you're expecting the most from that's going to complement Hunter Green and put the Reds in that position to win this division and make the playoffs?
Is this Sam? It's got to be Nick. It's got to be. Sorry, get my smoothie. All right, boys. Let's take a walk through Salt Lake with Sammy. It's got to be Nick, man. I think that he just has such the potential. He's got, all the tools that you would want for a guy to be able to do that. And as with anything, it's health, and he won't be as good. I mean, I've heard him talk. He's in best shape and all this crap. And the one guy that I heard actually say something that I love, and I'm starting to love this guy more, is Paul Skeens, because they're like, how do you feel? He's like, well, look, I'm not going to go into that best shape of my life BS. He's like, I'm in great shape. Who knows what the best shape of their life is, but Nick feels like he's in a really good place physically. That is a confidence builder mentally. When you go out there and you feel like you're going to be able to get in a position to make your pitch every time physically, it just builds confidence from a mental standpoint. So it needs to be him. I mean, Nick Martinez was very good last year at the end of the year. I love Nick. I think he brings a ton to the rotation. Brady Singer's going to give you innings. A number 2, and I still believe in Nick as a number 1. Am I going the right way? I give a shit. A number 2 in a playoff series, which is how I think. Like, you guys can talk about divisions and winning records and all that shit. Like, you got to get into the playoffs, and you need a 1 and 2 starter to scare somebody. And Nick and Hunter are those guys. There's not another guy in that rotation that scares you. I mean, there's good arms. Man, I know they wouldn't take offense to this. If Nick Martinez was copied on this call, he doesn't scare anybody. He's a really good pitcher. He doesn't swing and miss like Nick can. So that's important. So it needs to be Nick for me. We'll see how it goes. He's got to stay on the field. A lot of the things about health is it not only stunts your growth as far as gaining innings, stunts your growth is being able to read major league hitters. Like, he's not going to be able to jump up to 180 innings this year because he hasn't had the workload, and he also hasn't seen, who's a guy in the division, William Contreras for the Brewers takes his slider. Those are things that you need to see. Like, it's gaining, mental log of what's going on within the game. So he's going to be behind. Like, he's good enough, I think, to overcome that. He's got as good of a 3-pitch mix. I mean, he's Chris Sale, dude. He's Chris Sale. If he can stay on the field, just like when Chris Sale couldn't stay on the field, he wasn't very good, right? But he gets back and he's on the field for a full season, wins a Cy Young. Now, I'm not going to throw him into that category yet. You got to get some dirt in your spikes before I start handing out Cy Young awards. But it's got to be Nick in the rotation.
All right, good stuff. Sam LeCure giving us some time today. Enjoy your smoothie. Get to your flight on time, and we appreciate you giving us time in the airport. Love the cowboy hat. Talk soon.
You got it. See you, partners.
See ya.